Well, hello and welcome to Unleashed. I'm Carl Metzler, and this week we're talking retrievers with our friends from NAHRA, the North American Hunter Retriever Association. Like many hunt test organizations, NAHRA is predominantly amateur run, but the quality of the dogs and their work is second to none. And today, we'll see what it takes, right here on Unleashed. There are over 86 million dogs in the United States, but only a select few are considered elite working or sporting dogs. From police and military canines to hunting and sporting dogs and everything in between, meet the dogs your dog aspires to be. Get ready to see man's best friend in a whole new light. This is Unleashed.
I'm Dick Ofsedal. I'm from the central Minnesota area, and my association with NAHRA is that I'm the regional director of the central region. NAHRA stands for North American Hunting Retriever Association. It's the true hunter's dog game. It's one of those that's almost all amateurs, and our passion is actually hunting. And what one of our members says, we're amateur trainers, but hardcore hunters. That's Ray Esbolt's quote. And he's got it right. It's down-to-earth people that love getting together to work their dogs, hunt with their dogs, and they want a conservation tool to take in the field, which provides two things. Number one, you get more of your game back. You're not having a bunch of cripples. And number two, our dogs are so good, you get invited to more places to go hunting, which is an added bonus. It's a nationwide organization, and it also includes Canadians. We're broken into regions, all volunteer. And that's what's nice about NAHRA. There's no paid things, no paid positions. They're just because they love the organization and what. Naturally, we think it's the best of the dog games. So. But each region holds their own tests. Like currently we are doing a regional hunt test, and the dogs that qualified to run the region go together and they celebrate, and they get to be on the North American Hunting Retriever Association All-American team if they pass at this regional event.
So we've been involved with NAHRA, the North American Hunting Retriever Association, really from the outset. When we started, testing Kinetic in specific kennel environments, we had some great friends, and actually even before we started the company, we had some great friends. One of my closest friends, Dan Hove, who we lost last year. So we did a lot of our testing with not just specifically those breeds, but also specifically in some NAHRA kennels and with some people that were members, very active members of the North American Hunting Retriever Association. So they were pretty instrumental in helping us make sure that our products were going to be the right products and the right variety of products to meet all the needs of those kinds of dogs.
With these clubs, when we look at them, and NAHRA was one, they classify themselves as amateurs, but the reality is they are absolute true professionals. These are folks that commit thousands of hours to working with a dog and really training that dog and building a bond. And so you see it throughout the whole organization. And when you go to some of these tests, what is really neat is to watch people cheer each other on and interact not only with their own dog, but with other people's dogs. And so it's really a unique organization that's built on a lot of fellowship.
There are some people out there that are running around, they have a young dog and they're wondering what they want to do. And some people think that running this field test game is kind of intimidating. But what's kind of neat about it, sometimes we see, in fact, there's a young man standing behind you that had a really nice dog, and a couple of people grabbed a hold of him and said, "You got a nice dog here, let's make it even better." And we think that in our organization, because of its more family atmosphere and non-competitive, we're working to do the best we can. we invite them in, and we try to make them feel welcome. And we do put them to work out in the field doing stuff, but if they're willing to put in the time, come to some training sessions, we support them and help them. Our training sessions are designed so that the highest level dog can run them, the lowest level dog can run sections of that, or make it simplify by doing singles instead of doubles or triples, or walking up closer for blinds. This game is not intimidating if you give it a chance. So all those people that are watching this great show, if you haven't tried NAHRA yet, you'd love it because we're family.
For your active dog, not just any dog food will do. It takes special care and nutrition to support their energy to work and play. That's why we made Kinetic Performance Dog Food. Each Kinetic formula is made with 3 animal proteins and no fillers like corn, wheat, or soy. This lets you feed less and still get more energy, faster recovery, and better weight maintenance. If health and performance matter to you, give Kinetic a try. We build it for our dogs, but you'll love it for yours.
When it comes to elite canine and handler training, the best of the best turn to one place, Von Lick Kennels. Von Lick is the premier full-service canine training center and detection service provider in the world. Their world-renowned training methods and experienced training staff produce the best canine and handler training available anywhere. When only the best will do, join over 5,000 law enforcement, government, and civilian agencies who count on Von Lick Kennels.
The interesting thing about the NAHRA guys is they'll all say, yeah, we're amateur trainers. All they mean is they're doing for free and for fun what a whole bunch of people are getting paid to do. To call them amateurs is no reflection whatsoever on their abilities. They're doing with 1 or 2 dogs some just absolutely incredible things. And we've seen pros, we've seen competition dogs and trial dogs all over the country, and the dogs they bring to their top level of their competition are absolutely second to none. They'll modestly say, yes, we're amateur trainers, but that's only because they're not taking money for it.
In our organization is the question might be, who runs these tests? And I'm just going to use AKC as an example. The AKC on the upper level, it's not uncommon to see 70% of the dogs are trained and run by a professional. But in the NAHRA organization, the predominantly amateur trained, amateur run. The testing part of this game is we do because it gives us something to do all summer. So when the fall hits, that dog is tuned up, dialed in, and ready to hunt. It's too many guys that have dogs don't allow themselves or their dogs to get tuned up for hunting. The dog goes out, gasses out in an hour, breaks when they're trying to shoot a duck, endangering themselves and everybody they're hunting with, or jumping out of a pit blind. And so this is all about getting ready for hunting. Plus, we have a lot of fun doing it together. We have 4 different levels. The first level is the started, and that involves 5 single marks. And that what the judges are looking for there is pretty much just natural abilities. Is that dog able to focus enough to look at where a bird goes down and goes to try to find it? And there's 2 land or 3 land, and then 2 water or 3 water. A total of 5 single marks of varying degrees of difficulty, but none of them real long. It's that dogs need to see that they can change cover, maybe go in and out of water up on land, but it's a natural ability. The next step gets to be just a little bit more training, and that's called the hunter division. The dog has to know what their double is and how to retrieve 2 marks, and that also has a trail component to it, which is just a 30 to 50 yard trail that the dog, believe it or not, hunting dogs need to be able to have a different switch from the retrieving, the marking, and then also finding that game that's down. and it helps if you train them actually to trail. Then from there, which is a big step, it goes to the intermediate level. At the intermediate level, the dog needs to demonstrate some marking ability with a water double, a land double, a water blind, a land blind, a trail, which is generally longer and more complicated than the hunter, and then also an upland. They have to demonstrate upland quartering skills, but there is no flush. But that's a big step because those blinds require the handling. The dog, you blow a whistle, dog stops, looks at you, and you use hand signals to help direct them to a bird that they don't know where it's at. That's a blind retrieve. And then you jump up to our top level, which is called senior, and then it's a triple water, triple land, a water blind, land blind, more complicated trail, and then the upland is the quartering and then a steady to flush. The dog doesn't have to sit to flush, but it needs to be steady and not make a move to retrieve the bird. And sometimes that's really an interesting one because sometimes the bird is crippled, so you might get a bird that goes down and the dog has to trail that bird as well, but they have to come back with a bird if the judge calls your number. So that's our levels. And people work hard to get a dog to the senior level. When you see a senior level dog, that dog has had thousands of hours. The basic obedience for any dog, whether it's a house pet or a hunting dog or a dog that reaches this level, it takes hours and hours to build a foundation and then build the skill set that they need.
I need you to get me out of the country, out of here, away.
All in exchange for a sip of coffee?
Yeah, it's Black Rifle coffee. Let's try some.
Later, loser!
Why don't you head over to blackriflecoffee.com and get yourself set up with a coffee club subscription.
Feel like the season just got started? Well, there's no reason to stop hunting now. At Highland Hunting, you can enjoy a great upland experience through the end of March. Located in southeast Iowa, we have over 1,200 acres of diverse upland habitat with the best flying and wildest birds you'll find at any upland outfitter. Our incredible staff and great accommodations let us show you a true Iowa upland experience at Highland Hunting. Give us a call and schedule your next adventure today.
A lot of people look at different traits when they're looking for dogs. Most of us that are doing this game, you want a high drive dog that's mellow off the field. And that's kind of hard to come by sometimes. Most of us want a dog that can be excited in the field and do that work, but be able to come and be a house pet. But you look for a dog or a puppy that's willing to look you in the eyeballs and follow you around a little bit, because that's a dog that's going to pay attention to you. You want a dog that's going after a ball or going after a pheasant feathers or something like that. So we look for an intelligent dog that's able to solve problems and do things without fear. But the prey drive, almost all of us say we want a dog that has prey drive. And we do that because we've found dogs through our testing and watching our friends' dogs, the dogs that seem to have that natural instinct, what they want to go after. So we look at the parentage and dogs that are proven that they have the abilities, because they're generally going to pass on some of those traits. So most of us just say, you find a good breeding, just go in there and grab a puppy and the chances are you have a good dog. Most of these dogs are athletes. For the people looking in for field tests and really hardcore hunters, we want the dogs that can go out and last a day in the field. So they need to be athletes. They need to be well-tuned, well-fed. Along with an athletic dog, just like an athletic person, you got to put the right fuel in, and we feel Kinetic is the right fuel.
One of the big risks you see, and that's the other thing about they say they're amateurs. These guys are amateur trainers. Well, they're hunting their dogs, so they're not testing during the hunting season when it's cool. So they're doing an awful lot of their competition when it's very hot. And we've been out, for their national invitational when it's 80 degrees out there. Well, Labrador retrievers aren't really meant to be running around going hard when it's 80 degrees out there, certainly not for long periods. So having those dogs in peak condition and, on a great feeding and training regimen is absolutely essential, because if they're exerting too much energy just to do their normal activities, they're going to overheat pretty quickly. The other nice thing is when these dogs, and during the heat, these dogs don't need as much of the energy as what they normally would in the hunting season. So kind of the unique thing about our line of products is all of our foods are the exact same ingredients. So you can switch seasonally depending on the needs of the dog. So a lot of these guys, particularly the Labrador Retriever guys, their dogs, they're not going as hard in the summer even when they're competing. So they'll drop down to our lower protein and fat formulas, our active formulas. And then when the hunting season comes rolling around and starts to cool down and they get even more active, they'll pop right up. And you can switch cold turkey from our 26 to our 30K formulas, and you don't have any digestive upset. You don't need to mix it or blend it, and these dogs are ready to go. They'll hit the ground running, and they'll hold their weight during the hunting season when they might be going. Because a lot of these guys, again, they say they're amateurs. They guide professionally, quite a few of them. So these dogs might go out and they might guide for 30 to 45 days, and the dogs are on the ground for 25 or 30 of those days. So they're very busy.
Most of us today, if you were to go in everybody's trucks and look what kind of feed they're feeding, it's going to be Kinetic. Kinetic has been very good to us, and they're one of our sponsors. That's just fair warning. But this one, I noticed the difference in my dog. Fed less food, high energy. My dogs, up until this COVID year, have also been worked in a ranch, and they're hunting a lot, and they're hunting for a month, and they rotate those dogs in. I give them this, and I actually use some of the Kinetic Supplements as well for the hydration during the day, and in the evening to give them a little extra of that, and those dogs go. They just don't. We ask a lot of our dog at these tests, and the way we got there is we train after work. A lot of these guys, they have, their day job, they're working 40, 50, 60 hours. In the evening, they go home, maybe change, maybe grab a bite to eat, or they go out, they bring their dog to work in their truck, and they go out and train afterwards for 1 or 2 hours. But it takes a lot of work. Yeah, if you want a great hunting dog, I thought I had good dogs, but I now have what I considered really good dogs.
No matter what you feed, sometimes your dog needs a little help to keep them at the top of their game. For some dogs, it can even mean the chance to just live a normal, healthy life. Our Kinetic Supplements are formulated to meet specific needs to get and keep your dog at optimal health and performance. Your dog will love them, and you'll be amazed at the difference they make. If your dog needs an extra boost, give Kinetic a try. We build it for our dogs, and you'll love it for yours.
So I know you feel protected in the suit. Don't make any sudden movements without me there giving specific instructions. You got it?
Dogs love it.
I heard that you just bought insurance online. You really should work with somebody like Tom, who has the experience and knows what he's doing.
Oh, really?
Safari Insurance is an independent agency. They represent companies like Auto Owners Insurance. They guide you by showing you all the coverages to keep you safe. Then you decide what fits you best. They guide, you decide.
The neat thing about NAHRA is everybody is so supportive, and they're rooting for each other. And the reason that is because they're not competing against each other. They're being tested against a standard. So every dog can pass or every dog can fail. There's no placement. You either succeed or you don't. You pass the standard or you do not pass the standard.
As far as being a pass, fail, or a competition, which is the best dog in the field, we don't look at it as competition. That's what's nice about this organization too. We all support one another and our dogs. We want every dog to pass. We all cheer for one another. And as long as your dog meets the qualifications of that, an 80% proficiency, your dog gets a ribbon. And that ribbon just signifies your dog on that particular day met the standard, and we all cheer for one another. Almost all of our members are working people, and they have a family. We've got a couple members here today that have the families that now the kids are growing up. We saw the kids playing on little sand piles or dirt piles early on, and now those kids are running their own dogs. They're just having a great time.
One of the things that is really great to see is the connection between a younger person and their dog. What's really great to see is when we go to an event and you see a young person that's maybe 10, 11, 12 years old interacting with that dog.
My name is Ryan Canine and I'm 13 years old. This is my first hunt test and I've had an amazing experience. My dog's name is Merlin. He just turned 3 on August 24th. He impressed me a lot. I think he did really good. He passed, and I'm just hoping that today he'll pass as well so I can get my second ribbon. I've had dogs ever since I was little, and it's been a dream of mine to be able to hunt with a dog, and like now that I have Merlin, I'm super excited because I'll be able to train him and hopefully I'll be able to do some higher things with him.
We were at an event this past summer and met a couple of these youngsters, and one is Joe. You can tell when somebody spends time with their dog. They don't have to tell you that. You can see it in the dog. You can see the way the dog reacts to the person, the handler, and you can tell right away that there's a bond there. And Joe has that with his dogs.
I'm Joe Gamenden. I'm from Center City, Minnesota. I'm 16 years old and I really like dogs. I've been working dogs my entire life. Ever since I was young, my brothers and my parents bred dogs, and I grew up with them. And my dad always trained our dogs, and I kind of started helping him and really liked it, and that's just kind of what I always wanted to do. Yeah, dog competitions is like a sport, and they have to be conditioned to it and practice like anything else. And they are athletes, I would say. Personally, they are athletes in my book. They're thinking about this. They have to think in their mind, all right, what's my handler gonna do? What am I gonna do in response to that? And then they have to do all that. And some dogs can get very nervous just as well as we can at it. And some dogs, you won't even notice it and they're just going. And that adrenaline rush for them is huge and they just go. My favorite thing about dogs, I feel like they really connect with me, and I love to be with dogs, and I feel like having a bond with them is really cool, and they're super easy to work with for the most part. I hope to one day in the future become a professional dog trainer and own my own company for it. That would be my goal. Right now, it's kind of more of a really busy hobby.
You know, one of the things that's always impressed us about the folks at NAHRA is their willingness to help each other become better trainers, handlers, and conservationists. If you've got a retriever and you're looking for something to do with it, I'd encourage you to visit NAHRA.org and find a club near you. It's a nationwide organization, so chances are pretty good they'll be able to point you in the right direction. Well, as much as I hate to say it, that's all the time we've got left this week. We'll see you next time on Unleashed.